And I hope the audience enjoyed that brief bit of Lindsey Sterling, available for download from YouTube. But now it's time to buckle your seatbelts and get ready, because from New Zealand we have Vinny Eastwood and Susanne Posel, and I'm going to bring them live right now. It's all yours.
She's not in New Zealand, I am.
I'm in Oregon.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's worlds apart.
How do you guys keep your time zones straight? When you say, hey, I'll meet you at the United We Strike Marathon at such and such time, whose time zone gets preference?
It's the American time zone. New Zealand doesn't matter. It's poor. It's insignificant. It's tucked away down there in the South Pacific. Fukushima radiated, fluoridated. It doesn't matter.
I have no comment.
Did I speak out of turn?
No, I think you spoke out loud.
Well, news in New Zealand. There is a dude named Peter Dunn. He's been the Associate Health Minister for successive governments in this country for at least 3 previous terms. And interestingly enough, what his main coalition deals have been is to never, under any circumstances, ever question the legal status of cannabis. And now he's so unpopular that he doesn't even have 500 members in his party, which means it's illegal for him to actually even be in Parliament without a party. So he stepped down recently, and this is amid great fanfare for the cannabis legalization movement, and a debate was held on Television 3, which is owned by MediaWorks, the former CEO of which is now the communications minister for the government. I wonder how that works. And there was a poll done for legalization of cannabis via Twitter, Facebook, email, and the Television 3 website. The results of all these polls, basically across the board, was approximately 70% in support of full legalization of cannabis, based upon the debaters. And when you ever look at this debate, what it essentially was a team of researchers who were distributing facts, scientific evidence, etc., of why the law currently does not work. And on the other side, liars and misinformation artists and, for lack of a better term, douchebags. And so it was no surprise that they lost the debate so abysmally. Furthermore to this good result for the cannabis community in New Zealand, there has also been a great result for the anti-fluoridation movement, as Hamilton, a city, I think it might be the 3rd or 4th largest city in the country, following on from New Plymouth, I think about the 6th or 8th largest city in the country, have decided to reject fluoridation. The councillors for the local council voted 7-1 in their landmark decision to remove fluoride from this water supply, and as a direct result of these rather positive sounding events, there has been a fanfare of government propaganda to essentially discredit the anti-fluoridation movement. And I had in fact written down, or rather screen captured, a excuse me, a list of headlines from the mainstream media, which, in my opinion, show in a nutshell precisely the mainstream media's views on water fluoridation, and its supporters and proponents are just dumb, right? As if the fluoride has done its work. They can't. They can't argue. There's a whole strings of abuses, a number of different conversations that I'm following, and every single time that somebody's sticking up for the pro-fluoridationists, they either have logical fallacies, ad hominem arguments, or simply just this I don't know. Have you ever seen The Blob or something like that. This big oozing kind of disgusting giant rogue amoeba type thing, just fracking up everything and consuming everybody and turning them into mushy goo and melting them with its acidic insides. That's kind of the intellectual capacity of these people, the intellectual capacity of the blob. Here is these headlines from the mainstream media. All right, the day that fluoride gets taken out of the water. Quote, experts disappointed by Hamilton fluoride removal. Health experts slam Hamilton's fluoride decision. Fluoride in drinking water helps protect teeth. Experts. Hamilton fluoride decision slammed by doctors. Expert disappointed by fluoride decision. Nah, the mainstream media aren't biased in favour of fluoride, bro.
We had the same thing in Portland. Portland, for the 5th time, decided no fluoride in the water. And the same thing. Everyone and their mother was writing articles saying how stupid Portlanders are because they don't want healthy teeth, and 40% of Portlanders have horrible teeth, and now this travesty is going to continue because we won't put the fluoride in our water.
The abuse is never ending, and you know what's interesting is they'll make it cool, like they'll get the fluoride out of the water, and I can guarantee you, at this very particular point in time, just like out of V for Vendetta, you know, orders are being shouted into telephones and men with guns are being mobilized, you know. Oh, these anti-fluoridation people, they're so dangerous, yes. Won't somebody please think of the children? Please think of the children. Come on. Every single time that they want to kill the adults and the children, they say, please think of the children. Why? The children that you're killing, the children that don't even have any frickin' teeth, that you sell nursery water to, you frickin' idiots. Even if you were right, which you're not, you'd just be a bunch of murdering, silly psychopathic scum. I mean, come on. And everybody else is frustrated as I am. Right, I've been getting really angry these last couple of days. Like I don't know. This is another one on my Facebook status. Have you ever caught yourself screaming abuse at the screen when watching a bogus news story? I've been doing it for some time, and I don't think they heard me.
Yes, I think I commented back, keep screaming. Eventually, they'll hear you.
I don't know. I just get really, really angry with mainstream media and their various forms of censorship, scumbaggery, and also another thing that irritates me. I don't know if you're allowed to be irritated at people's stupidity. I mean, it's not my fault that they're morons and can't tell their asshole from their elbow. But excuse me for the language there. But let me make it plain. If you work for the mainstream media as a reporter or newscaster, you're fracking scum, peddling the lies of even worse scum onto innocent and ignorant people. How do you live with yourself? Quit. Just quit your job. We don't need you.
It's like what Bill Hicks said about people who work in marketing. Just kill yourself. Seriously, there's no joke. There's no punchline. Just kill yourself.
Oh, there's going to be a joke coming. There's no fucking joke. Suck a tailpipe, hang yourself, borrow a pistol from an NRA buddy. You are Satan's little helpers. Rid the world of your evil fracking presence.
Well, recently, and I wrote an article about this like 2 weeks ago, but when in Colorado, the governor just signed like a bunch of rules and regulations for marijuana because it's legal there. So they have breathalyzer tests and stuff like that, you know, in case you're too high while you're driving. And then all of these experts came out with all of these studies saying, oh my God, the children are being admitted into hospital because they're high and they're eating all of the edibles, the marijuana edibles that the parents are buying. So they want like child-proof locks on all of these edibles, all the brownies and the cookies that they're buying at the pot store. What
do they do? Go to CPS, the Cannabis Protection Service?
Right? Exactly. Yes, as soon as your child is apprehended or kidnapped by CPS, they immediately put them on like 17 different pharmaceutical drugs to regulate.
Oh, yeah. Hey, well, look, here's this drug that kills maybe about 12% of the people that we give it to. We're going to give you this. In fact, we're going to give you 10 of these so that there's 120% chance that you'll die instead of the other drug that has never killed another. Who has never killed a fracker in living history.
Right, and we'll give like a 3-month-old an adult dose and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's like playing Russian roulette with your child's larynx. It's just not cool, man.
Absolutely. We got rid of all the fluoride. We brush our teeth with non-fluorinated toothpaste and have a triple filter in our house and buy juice that you know how hard it is to find juice that does not have high fructose corn syrup in it? And I cannot afford a juicer. But I really want one because it takes great work to find a company that does not use high fructose corn syrup in their juice.
Yeah, it's everywhere, isn't it?
It is. It's everywhere.
That's the problem with the system, is that it's virtually inescapable. I mean, there's things you can do. A friend of mine criticized me yesterday, and I said, well, I'm cutting down my GMO and manufactured food intake and all of that kind of stuff. And they're like, oh yeah, whatever. And I said, well, I'm down to about maybe eating about 40% junk versus about 80%, 90% junk that I used to be on. It's a process. Eventually, you got to get everything out of your diet and out of your environment. So I got the Blue Shield to get rid of the EMF radiation. I'm buying water at an organic store so I don't have to drink the fracking fluoride until they get it out of the fracking water in fracking Auckland, the fracking scum. I hate that. And incidentally, there's a big fluoride meeting on Monday, but and there's just so many other elements that you need to do in order to protect yourself from the New World Order system that it actually becomes like a full-time job just to not get exterminated.
Absolutely. Well, I've started talking a lot about parabens, especially because of the Angelina Jolie chopping off both of her breasts. But parabens in all
What's
of your
she going to do with
products.
them, by the way? Is she going to keep them in a jar?
That's it.
Like on the mantelpiece, you walk in, hey, Angelina, boom, there they are.
Maybe there's a picture of them, that Brad keeps by his bedside to remember, I remember
or they could get one of those. They could get a plaster cast made out of her and like put it in the front garden, like some Rothschild Eyes Wide Shut movie.
Well, she recently did not attend a funeral of of her aunt who passed away from cancer because she wanted to support her husband at a release of his film. So she wanted to be on the red carpet because she cares so much about cancer.
Oh yeah. What's more important, a loved one dying of cancer or the release of yet another movie which my husband has made frickin' heaps of, and then all of a sudden I need to... I mean, look, does she even lend any credibility or any kind of star factor to release of movies now? I mean, because I don't know about you, but I only watch the movies for the breasts,
I'm starting to lean toward the idea that she didn't actually have it done.
Really?
I'm gonna go out there on a limb. Because she had the mastectomy done, and then immediately she had breast implants and reconstructive surgery, which is usually not the case. They usually wait a while, maybe a couple of months to a year, because there's chance of infection and there's rejection of the body, and it's too much trauma for the body to go through that kind of surgery and then immediately do reconstructive surgery and put in the implants. And she immediately had it done. So she looks exactly like she did before. So I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to be really conspiratorial about this, and I'm going to say that she didn't actually have it done.
Yeah, I'd love to see the evidence of that because I wonder... It would fit with the modus operandi, wouldn't it?
Yes.
I'm going to say that I'm going to do these things, just like the girls on the on Fox News getting given a quote unquote vaccine when it's just saline solution on air in order to convince everybody to take these poisonous contaminated H1N1 cooked up in a Pfizer military bioweapons research lab in Maryland with the Green Berets that they test them on, that puke and spit and die and everywhere. These people really don't have no scruples anyway. They just BS 6 ways from Sunday regardless, isn't it?
And everything is about the genes now. I wrote an article recently. They found, they did studies with laboratory rats, and they have located the part of your brain that controls emotional response to memory. So now sufferers of post-traumatic stress disorder, they're working on a preventative drugs that you can take so that you won't feel the effects of all of the horrific things that you did, and you won't end up with PTSD. They also say that there's a gene that causes, excuse me, there's a gene that causes early, they call it precocious puberty, children going into They don't talk about the BPA. They don't talk about any of the chemicals that are going on that are causing the children to go into early puberty. They're blaming it on a gene that's passed down through the father, so they're working on a drug and a vaccine to combat that. And meanwhile, they're offering Depo-Provera and Lupron Depot, 2 sterilizers to give small children who go into early puberty.
That's nice. You know, I always thought Angelina Jolie looked really good in jeans, and you know, I once went to send a package to the States once, and I came up with post-traumatic stress disorder. You know, trying to get the stickers on that puppy. Maybe this is a terrible joke. Never mind.
It must have cost an arm and a leg to get it over here too.
It did. It was like $16 to send a DVD or some shit.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, I do understand, of course, that some people would be taken in by these sorts of scams, right? So, picture this, woman. Maybe it's a bad idea for me to do this being a man, or, you know, I might get jumped on by some description of feminazi, but picture your breasts, okay? Now think about how sensitive they are to the touch. Think about how sensitive the tissue is to radiation. And think about what they're actually there for. Okay, now, the best way to protect them, therefore, is to go and put them in a machine that squeezes them and puts extra pressure on them and irradiates them.
Yes, or bundle them up in a bra that doesn't allow them to breathe and causes huge pockets of all kinds of stuff in your lymph nodes underneath your arm and causes all kinds of cancer over there. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the lingerie business is covering up the question, the connection, the well-documented connection between bras and breast cancer. And bras, incidentally, don't help your breasts remain firm at all. They basically atrophy. They grow no strength or ability to support themselves if you've got something else doing it the whole time. I mean, it's like somebody saying, you know what, I want my legs to be in top condition, so I'm going to go around in a wheelchair.
Absolutely. And then, God forbid, you know, men get to take off their shirts and run around and jog and do whatever they want. And women cannot do this because there is a sexual stigma that is not our fault. It's your guys' fault. You have the fascination with it. We don't. And so we are penalized and have to bundle them up and wrap them up and keep them locked up all the time and be embarrassed by them. And have to wear padding because, God forbid, it should be cold out and we have a reaction and everybody freaks out and thinks that we're being sexual, or some guy has his own biological reaction to it, and then that's somehow our fault.
There needs to be some form of, you know, modern prophet, you know, like a memory Moses. Let my movies go!
I agree, but, you know, that will never happen. That will never happen.
I don't know. I could grow my beard out and get some form of stick and a cloak. Just use my dressing gown, maybe, you know. Cruise around in the streets when you're going up to women, you know, commanding them to let their boobies out and play. And
there was a woman who protested in New York recently and took off her shirt and was walking around. And a picture of her was going around Facebook, and Facebook was cutting people out of their accounts and penalizing them for posting this picture. Now, there's I would say probably thousands at least of profiles of disgusting pictures of women in horribly pornographic images. And that's okay. But a woman protesting in New York with her top off is not okay, and you can't disseminate that on Facebook. That's pornography.
Well, yeah. I mean, when nudity means something that isn't to do with sex, then it's obviously real bad. But if it's just gratuitous and stuff like that, that's socially acceptable now. I mean, you look at television and music channels in particular, and I think I was coming home one time, and I just flicked on the TV, and there was all of these girls that looked I don't know, maybe there are a couple of inches of threads of clothing on them, put together or something. Highly sexualized gyrations and so on and so forth. And this is about the same time that kids are supposed to be coming home from school. What the hell are we teaching our kids?
Well, one of my son's friends in the neighborhood, his mother just bought him a tablet, and she spent $300, but she justified it because it came with 7 games. One of the games was Call of Duty. This child is 8 years old.
Yeah.
What is that child doing playing that game? And why is that okay?
That's not cool, man. And it's filtering down pretty substantially. I just think when I watched Jaws for the first time as a very young boy, I think I might have been maybe 6 or 7 or something like that. I had freaking nightmares for years and years and years because of that stuff. I was practically afraid to go in pools. And I'm just wondering, yeah. And that's interesting because that same result happened to adults watching the film.
Yeah, they wouldn't even swim in their own pool because they thought a shark was in there too.
Yeah, I mean, me and my friend, me and my cousin Andy, we were drunk one time, being driven to a party on my birthday a couple of years back, and we thought about just a real spoof of Jaws, like the shark could hide out of any body of water, like you'd be walking along the sidewalk, there's a puddle right next to him, all of a sudden, and the shark just swallows you. Guy will be washing his hands and he fills the sink up with a little bit of water, all of a sudden the shark pops out.
I think Saturday Night Live did a parody of that where the shark would knock on the door.
Land shark.
Say UPS, delivery, Domino's. Open the door and get eaten.
Candygram.
UPS, ultra predator
Candygram.
shark. Yeah, I mean, that gives a whole new meaning to the term going postal, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yes, more so than when you had to send that package to the U.S.
Yeah. I've also got this feeling as well that society's kind of like coming apart at the seams, like all form of I don't know. You know what knights used to do way back in the day? I don't know. I wasn't there, but allegedly there was these things like honor, discipline, respect, right, etc. That is disappearing, like out of society almost in its entirety. I remember even when I was a boy, we were talking about honor and I'm not going to do that because it's not honorable, etc. When I was like 12 years old, talking about this kind of thing. And it seems that I was the only one who actually kept trying to be honourable amidst all the scumbaggery, and everybody else goes, "Oh, it's not worth it. I'd rather be part of the crowd." What the hell is the point in that, man? You're not worth it.
That's what they teach in schools. They're teaching. Yeah. That's part of the curriculum with all of this. Edward Bernays bringing into the schools in 1928, where they were teaching the children that as a principal, you want to go with the crowd, you want to go with the flow, you want to do what your friends are doing, unless it directly. You are directly disobeying your parents. But indirect disobeying of your parents is okay as long as you're going with the flow and following the crowd.
Yeah, yeah. Schooling has really, really destroyed society, in my opinion. I mean, and a friend of mine was asking me, well, what alternatives are there to public schooling? I say, well, look at how people got educated before public schooling. Well, you had parents, first of all. Like, oh my God, like parents were actually home and stuff. And they actually were capable of looking after their children without sticking them in front of a television screen that brainwashes them with mindless control propaganda all day long. And they're actually capable of working with dad or mum or learning certain skills, whether it be sewing or whatever, and with huge quantities of books to read and things of that nature, and constantly reading the Bible to them and all of that sort of stuff. And it turns out that the intelligence of those people way back in the day, despite superstitions and so on and so forth, if you update it to today, they make us look like morons, like total fracking moron. Have you ever seen a test from the 1800s that they were given to 7th graders? Okay.
The average IQ back when our founding fathers wrote the Constitution was 178 IQ. The average IQ now is 100.
Yeah, and some have said it's actually more like 78. So we've shifted some. Oh no, sorry, that's the average for Americans. We've shifted somewhat. I mean, does it feel like that? Does it feel like you go into Lollipop's Playland when you're walking around in the States? Like, oh my God, there's these tubs of lard that are just cruising around in these gargantuan vehicles with extraordinary gas consumption for no frickin' reason, and they have no idea about anything that goes on. What the hell is happening?
It's like I'm always on the set of the Teletubbies. And I'm very, very frightened.
You see, my former producer, Mitch, his son said to him, "Dad, America's changed. It's like in Wall-E."
Yes, it is. Absolutely. We're just a hop, skip, and a jump from just sitting in our hover chairs drinking our food.
I do think that this is a great idea for American culture, and with the new BK trough. Well,
I love that. Oh my God.
I mean, help. Look, America, I don't mean to be patronizing, but when the point comes that you're eating your fast food through a trough, I think you've got problems.
Absolutely. Did you see the commercial? I normally would not write an article about this, but I had to. And I put the 30-second commercial in it. If you guys listening, go to occupycorporatism.com and watch this 30-second commercial. Seriously. There is one scene where a guy is very in a sexual position, rubbing this woman, a topless woman, on a beach while he's eating his Whopper out of a trough. And it is one of the most revolting things I've ever seen in my life.
Well, you know what they say in the condiment industry? Whatever tickles your pickle.
Blah.
Oh my God.
You know, I hate to butt in, but you know, you've only got about a minute here, and I would like you to take at least a little bit of time to do some blatant self-promotion. I know you've got websites to promote. I know you've got your own broadcast to promote, and we should reserve a little bit of time to get that blatant self-promotion done.
Yeah. I'm like a castle, and I have my own promote. The VinnyEastwoodShow.com. That's the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. Vinny with a Y, because it's the most important question, and Eastwood isn't go ahead, make my news. There's also my YouTube channel, which is the most subscribed YouTube channel for news in New Zealand. It is Mr. News Guerrilla Media. There are links to that on the VinnyEastwoodShow.com and guerrillamedia.co.nz, and the feeds of which are available at realguerrillamedia.com, which myself and Susanne Posel have started because somebody else tried to steal my name, Guerrilla Media, and they're making a real crap show of it and being a douchebag about it. So we're trying to make something a heck of a lot better to show them up, really, to have honourable, credible journalists who have actual moral basis for trying to make the world a better place. And essentially, ladies and gentlemen, the only real reason why you listen to the Vinny Eastwood Show is to have some fun, all right? Because in a world so full of chaos and madness, if you lose a sense of humour, you'll go freaking nuts. And Susanne Posel is at occupycorporatism.com as well. Is there anything else you'd like to plug for us?
Yes, and the Region 10 report on American Freedom Radio, Thursdays, 1 to 3 Pacific Time, 3 to 5 Central Time. And yes, occupycorporatism.com, where the alternative media goes to get their news. So you might as well go there too.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you want to plagiarize Susanne Posel's articles, which is greatly encouraged.
All right, I am hearing the music in the background, so it's about time we bow out. Vinny Eastwood, Susan Posel, thank you very much for your participation in the United We Strike Marathon.
Thank you.
See you back in the round table.